Must be Easter.
Must be Easter.
Amazed where all the people came from. Just overwhelmed with your presence. Thank you, Mr. Clemens, for giving me this opportunity to return to this pulpit where I served for almost 29 years, and to be a part of this beloved congregation. It is a privilege and an honor to be among you this very day. This moment in time also needs to recognize David Schuler. David, in an happenstance situation, caused us to meet in a supermarket. And in that supermarket, David confronted me saying, you know, not only myself, but a number of members of NGUCC would like to have you, if you're going to preach a final sermon, to preach it at NGUCC. I said, well, I really don't have anything to do with that. The powers that be have that decision to make. He said, I'm sure we can arrange it. So I gave it thought, gave it prayer, and I had preached my last sermon in another church April a year ago. David was there for that. And he confronted me at that time, and this was the second time I heard this thing. So I said, okay. And then the doors opened up, and Pastor Clemens got in touch. And so anyway, I'm here so far. Thank you, David, for this challenge. And to Consistory for the green light, and all others who brought this opportunity to fruition. Do you think we are losing our traditions? Traditions which help us to understand who we are? Some are saying it's getting more difficult to distinguish between right and wrong these days. The old is out, the new is in. But hasn't it always been that way? Although for me, the changes really get more frequent and sometimes more difficult and painful. But I have much to be thankful for. During the 60s and the 90s of the 20th century, I worked tirelessly and joyfully in the life of this fellowship and in our community. And being a city boy from Philadelphia, I learned so much about life and meaning through the care, love, and concern of this fellowship. You graced my life and Mabel's with a generous supply of love and encouragement, and went far beyond congregational limits. Now enough said about me and my return. Let us pray. Merciful God, pour the light of your Spirit into our minds and hearts, that we may discover anew what is your holy will. Discern the true from the false, the evil from the good, and walk in the paths of true wisdom and peace. Grant us both divine and human wisdom in everyday living and in this time of worship, to the glory of thy holy name, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Let's begin with an anonymous thought. People don't grow old. When they stop growing, they become old. And what does the Bible say to us about aging? It presents us with an unending list of directions and guidelines. Two of our liturgical readings this morning on this Trinity Sunday are from Proverbs and Psalms, and both are poems and offer some significant insights as well as encouragement. Both emphasize that God's majesty and glory are evident in God's creation. In Israel's history, wisdom was cultivated and counseled by the wise. The book of Proverbs is the earliest literary work of Israel's wisdom. We usually think of Solomon as the author of Proverbs and the collector of the wisdom literature, such as Job, Ecclesiastes, and a few of the Psalms. So let's consider together the issues of proverbial wisdom. The lesson from Proverbs 8, 1-4, 22-31 becomes our focus. Unlike English, the original languages, Hebrew and Greek, have nouns, as nouns have genders. And in both those great biblical languages, the word wisdom is feminine. Thus, when wisdom speaks, as she does in today's lesson, it's with a feminine voice. And when wisdom speaks, it's with the self-assurance of one who has a unique relationship with God. Like Rodney Dangerfield would say, the Old Testament book of Proverbs has not gotten a lot of respect. It doesn't even mention the great events and personality of the Hebrew history. And the prophets are also missing. But unexpected as it may seem, Proverbs does contain a creation story that you read. And it's not like the others in Genesis. In the Proverbs creation story, God brought forth wisdom at the very beginning, as she probably tells us, when God established the heavens and assigned to the sea its limit. I was there, she declares. Wisdom stood beside God like a master worker when the foundations of the earth were marked out. And what a creation it was indeed. The skies above, with all the planets and stars, the fountains and springs with pure water, earth and fields. Now that's Proverbs 8:22-31, where there is this relationship between God and Lady Wisdom, which prefigured God's relationship with Jesus, but also presents a vision of the loving God delighting in the human race, whom Jesus portrayed in his walk upon this earth and his teaching as well. That's divine wisdom. Paul Tillich, the great theologian, has said, the universe in all its parts is wisdom embodied. Wisdom, in whom God delights every day, rejoices in the created world, and especially in human beings. The psalmist reminds us, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So there is a divine wisdom, And there is also much human wisdom in the book of Proverbs. And it's a book with a short, one-sentence human wisdom from everyday experience. Common proverbial quotes appear in everyday conversations. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. The mouth of a loose woman is a deep pit. Oh, I'm in trouble now. A good name is to be chosen rather than great riches, and favor is better than silver and gold. It's a kind of book full of daily life instruction. And it gives us direction in our living. And yet, old people like me, an aging preacher, love to dispense proverbial wisdom to young people, like some of you. It makes us old geezers feel needed. And it gives the impression that the accumulation of years actually does teach you something. Now, most of you younger ones endure our proverbs good-naturedly, especially as you think to yourself and as you stare at this 87-year-old guy, thinking,